Welcome to Cinevantage. Today, we explore a very special corner of cinema, films that don't just entertain you, they force you to think. We're diving into universes where quantum physics becomes drama, where black holes are characters, and where the most terrifying question isn't who dies, but what we are. There's time dilation, contact with the unknown, artificial intelligences that will challenge everything you believe, and more than one twist you'll need to pause and process. But before we get started, it would mean a lot to me if you took a moment to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for your support. Number 10. Solaris. A psychologist is sent to a space station orbiting the planet Solaris. His mission: understand why the crew is mentally falling apart. What he finds when he arrives defies rational explanation. The planet's ocean seems to read the minds of the astronauts and materialize their deepest memories. The protagonist's ex-wife, dead for years, appears on the station as real as any living person. Tarkovsky isn't concerned with technology or aliens, as we typically imagine them. Solaris is a meditation on grief, guilt, and the limits of human knowledge. Can science comprehend something that transcends logic? The film moves slowly, with long takes and uncomfortable silences. Fair warning, it's not for everyone. Viewers looking for action will lose patience, but those willing to stay with it will find one of the most singular cinematic experiences ever made. Soderbergh's 2002 version updates the aesthetics, but the soul is the same. Science fiction in its purest and strangest form. Number 9. Moon. Sam Bell has spent nearly 3 years alone on a lunar base, mining helium-3 for a corporation back on Earth. He's 2 weeks away from going home when he has an accident. When he wakes up, he finds something that shouldn't exist. I won't say more, because Moon's twist works best when you know nothing going in. What I can say is that Sam Rockwell delivers one of the most underrated performances of his generation here. Director Duncan Jones built this film on a minimal budget with no spectacular effects. The entire weight rests on the story and its lead. The film explores extreme isolation, identity, and what corporations would do with human beings if they could get away with it. The pacing is unhurried, the atmosphere is claustrophobic, and Gertie, the base's AI companion, turns out to be surprisingly warm. Moon proves you don't need hundreds of millions of dollars to make intelligent science fiction. You just need a good question and the courage to answer it honestly. Number 8. Ex Machina. A young programmer is selected to spend a week at the remote estate of Nathan, the brilliant billionaire who founded the world's biggest search engine. His task: evaluate Ava, an artificial intelligence with a robotic body, and determine whether she's truly conscious. What looks like a scientific experiment becomes a three-way manipulation game. Alex Garland, who directed this film, understands that the real question isn't whether Ava thinks, the question is, who is actually evaluating whom? Ex Machina works as a closed-room essay on the Turing test, artificial consciousness, and power. The three main characters face off in a confined space, and the tension never lets up. Alicia Vikander builds Ava with an ambiguity that keeps you off balance until the very end. The film excels at making you switch sides multiple times without realizing it. Where it falls short is in a certain emotional coldness that keeps the viewer at a distance, but in a way, that's entirely the point. Number 7. Contact. Ellie Arroway is an astrophysicist who has dedicated her life to searching for extraterrestrial intelligence. One day, her team picks up a signal from deep space. It's not cosmic noise, it's a message with precise instructions. Robert Zemeckis adapted Carl Sagan's novel with a fidelity rare in Hollywood. Contact is not about invasions or interstellar wars. It's about the collision between the scientific method and faith, between evidence and personal experience. Jodie Foster builds Ellie as someone who lives by reason, and the film places her in situations where reason simply isn't enough. The journey sequence is one of the most audacious moments in 90s science fiction. What sets Contact apart from other films in the genre is its philosophical integrity. It doesn't resolve the conflict between science and spirituality. It holds the tension honestly. For anyone who thought Carl Sagan was just the cosmos guy on television, this film is the best introduction to what he actually believed about the universe and our place in it. Number 6. Annihilation. A biologist joins a group of scientists venturing into Area X, a region shrouded by a luminous barrier they call the Shimmer. Every previous expedition has failed. Her husband went in and came back unrecognizable. What they find inside defies every known category. Alex Garland, once again, refuses easy explanations. Annihilation proposes that something extraterrestrial wouldn't come to destroy or communicate in human terms. It would simply transform everything, without intent, without malice, like a biological process alien to any known logic. The speculative biology the film deploys is fascinating. Refracting DNA, ecosystems reinventing themselves, life forms blending the human with the plant and the animal. Natalie Portman carries the weight of a film that refuses to be conventional at any moment. The tension never lets up, and the ending divides audiences. That ending. Don't look for concrete answers, you won't find them. And paradoxically, that's exactly what makes this film so unforgettable. Number 5. 2001. A Space Odyssey. Before modern computing existed, Stanley Kubrick filmed an artificial intelligence that plans murders, astronauts hibernating in perfect silence, and a journey beyond Jupiter that no one has matched in terms of visual ambition. The plot is simple on paper: a space mission connected to a mysterious black monolith. But what Kubrick built operates on multiple levels simultaneously. HAL 9000 remains the gold standard for artificial intelligence in cinema: calm, logical, and for precisely that reason, terrifying. The film's scientific accuracy in depicting space, silence, and orbital physics surpassed in 1968 what most films achieve today. Placed alongside contemporary science fiction, it shows both how far we've come and how much we've lost to empty spectacle. The final sequence remains the subject of academic debate decades later. No film on this list has left a deeper mark on the genre. The gold standard of science fiction exists, and it's called 2001. Number 4. Arrival. 12 alien vessels land at different points across the globe. Governments on the brink of panic call in a linguist to figure out how the visitors communicate. What looks like a translation problem turns out to be something far larger. Denis Villeneuve turned a short story by Ted Chiang into one of the most emotionally devastating films in contemporary science fiction. Arrival proposes that the language you learn doesn't just change how you communicate, it changes how you perceive time itself. The philosophical determinism running through the narrative leads to a conclusion few films would have the courage to commit to. Amy Adams builds Dr. Banks with a vulnerability that grounds every abstract concept in something deeply human. The film shines in the way it weaves the first contact storyline with an intimate story of loss. The twist isn't a trick, it's the logical consequence of everything the film has been building from minute one. Arrival is proof that hard science fiction can also be the most personal story you've seen in years. Number 3. Primer. Two engineers build something in their garage. They don't quite know what it is at first. When they figure it out, they try to be responsible with it. And they fail in ways that neither of them can fully trace. Shane Carruth made Primer on a budget of $7,000 with no studio backing. The result is the most rigorous and brutally honest time travel film ever made. There's not a single concession to casual viewers. The characters talk like engineers, think like engineers, and make the mistakes someone would actually make if they genuinely stumbled onto something impossible and tried to exploit it with logic. The timeline splits, overlaps, and contradicts itself. To fully understand it, you'll need a diagram, some paper, and probably a second viewing. The twists keep you hooked because they're not artificial, they're consequences. Primer sits at number 3 on this list because very few films have done so much with so little, and because no film has demanded more of its audience while respecting them so completely. Number 2. Three-body problem. It all begins in China during the Cultural Revolution. A physicist betrays her father and years later makes a decision that will alter the fate of humanity forever. That decision has consequences reaching all the way to the present, where a group of scientists from different disciplines begins experiencing things no one can explain. David Benioff, D.B. Weiss, and Alexander Wu adapted Liu Cixin's trilogy, widely considered the most ambitious hard science fiction work of the 21st century. The series introduces the three-body problem, a solar system with 3 suns whose orbital mechanics are so chaotic that stable life is impossible. A civilization that survives those conditions is not coming to Earth to make friends. The production is monumental, the scientific concepts are rigorous, and the philosophical implications of contact between civilizations are genuinely unsettling. The series shines when it deploys its biggest ideas. Season 2 will tell us whether it can sustain that level, but what Season 1 delivered is more than enough to earn this spot. Number 1. Project Hail Mary. Ryland Grace wakes up alone on a spacecraft, with no memory of who he is or how he got there. He's the only survivor of a three-person crew sent on a desperate mission to save the Earth. The sun is slowly dimming, and the culprit is a microscopic organism consuming solar energy at a rate that will cause global extinction within decades. Andy Weir, the same author behind The Martian, brought this story to life with the same relentless scientific precision that made his first novel a sensation. Every problem Grace encounters is solved through actual biology, chemistry, and physics. No hand-waving, no convenient plot devices. What earns this film a special mention on a list of hard science fiction is the way it handles first contact, with warmth, curiosity, and one of the most unlikely friendships in the genre's history. The core relationship at the heart of the story is something you genuinely don't see coming, and once it arrives, it carries the entire second half of the film. Ryan Gosling plays Grace in a performance critics are already calling one of his best, directed by Phil Lord and Christopher Miller. Released in March 2026, this is the hard sci-fi film you cannot miss. That was our top 10 of hard science fiction and cosmic mysteries. From the time loops of Primer to the vastness of Interstellar, every one of these films proves that the best science fiction doesn't run from the hard questions, it turns them into experiences you'll never forget. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss our next videos. Which of these films or series shook you the most? Tell us in the comments. See you in the next one.